Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. My name is Stone Rain Productions, but please feel free to call me SRP if you wish. And I've been on my kick with rotation decks lately, so I figured I'd try another one. And I really like Sebulba. I like the cut of his jib, so we're gonna we're gonna dive in and take a look at him and see what nonsense we can get up to here. And yeah, before we start, if you could just like and subscribe. It's a suggestion. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm just mentioning it because. Anyway, let's dive in and take a look here, and we'll just start from scratch, as we normally do. And Sebulba is a new leader from a Lawless Time, set 7, and it has an action where you can discard a card from your deck, and a friendly unit gains, and exhaust the leader, and a friendly unit gains raid 1. Okay, cool. So what do we get on the back with Sebulba? Backside he deploys on 4. He's a 2/5 and he has raid 1, and it says on attack discard a card from your deck. So that's what we're getting with Sebulba. So it's just a quick to deploy leader. That's the primary reason why I wanted to do that. And I decided to pair it with Data Vault. Kind of just seemed like a pretty safe thing to do. You have to tweak numbers a little bit. Usually want to do at least 11 turn 1 plays, but we'll go over everything just like I said, like we normally do, and go from there. This is a lower to the ground deck. It's supposed to be more aggressive. We're trying to follow the lead of our leader here as well too. So we're going to start off with 3 copies of BT1, and since some of these are new, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. It's 2 cost, aggression villainy, 2/4. On attack, discard a card from your deck. If it is aggression, you may deal 1 damage to a ground unit. Overall, we've got a pretty fair amount of aggression, so we should be able to hit on this. There is one unit that's been a little bit iffy so far, and we'll go over that once I get there, but it's been okay so far. We want to try to be as aggressively slanted as possible. Also, if you notice, we've got 2 droids here. We could potentially try to fit in like the droid package, like the invisible hand type of thing, but it's just not really enough in my opinion. But anyway, next up we've got GNK Power Droid. It's a 2 cost, 1/3, and has on attack. The next unit you play this phase costs 1 less. Just a good way to get costs reduced since there's not really much ramp anymore. Nothing like the super laser tech or resupply so far. There is a card that costs 4, but it's pretty slow. It's a lot slower because it doesn't when it is defeated, it's a 4 cost 3/3. When it's defeated, the resource doesn't come into play ready, so it's a little bit slow. Anyway, that's not even in the deck. Next card up is Imperial Dark Trooper, just a 2 cost 3/3. I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar with this. Just another low cost unit, and it's just a good unit. I'm trying 2 copies of Cyril Karn, just as a way to deal a little extra damage. If our opponent discards a card, that's fine too, but we prefer the damage mode on this. Cyril's a 2 cost 2/3, and on attack we can disclose aggression, villainy. If we do, our opponent chooses to either discard a card or deal 2 damage to the opposing unit. Deal 2 damage to that unit. Yep. So you get to choose a unit. Opponent either discards or deals 2 damage to it. Next up, the troublesome card is Warrior of Clan Ordo. You sometimes have to keep an aggression card in your hand with him, but I think it's worth it to have two sets of 2 cost 3/3s in the stack just to keep the aggression up pretty high. It's not a huge deal, but I have run into some issues. At some point, I would say it's about 50-50 as far as aggression and command cards, like a split. It would be nice if we got something better in these aspects, like a triple aspect card. That way we would make things with the Warrior a lot better. But as of the date of recording this, I believe it's the 30th today. Let me check real quick. Well, phone is wanting to be silly. Okay, that's the 30th, just like I thought. Okay. So nothing that looked great anyway. I think actually there's one card, but anyway, we'll get to that. A lot of droids here. So Dark Trooper, we got the GNK, we got the BT1, we've got the 000, which is our next card, and just happened to notice this also was a droid, but 3 cost, 4/4, so I really like the stats on this. Kind of similar to this Knight of Ren, but this actually has an ability here. And it's a 3 cost, 4/4 on attack. You may put an aggression card from your discard pile on the bottom of your deck. If you do, deal 1 damage to each enemy base. It's kind of a good way with Sebulba to make sure that you don't run yourself out of cards. I know it's not a ton of replenishment, but it's still something, and it's pretty decent. I'm going with 3 copies of Admiral Ozzel. I really like this card in this deck in particular. 3 cost 3/1 with a when defeated, each opponent discards a card from their hand. It's really the way that I like to look at this is it's removal and discard and 1. So we play the Ozzel, we attack, and when it's defeated, so even if our opponent comes in and attacks us and defeats it, they still have to discard a card. So we're always getting something from this. Worst case scenario. Is just discarding a card great? Not really, but most of the time we're going to be able to use this to our advantage and defeat something and make our opponent lose a card. I've got 2 copies of Chancellor Palpatine. I know Sebulba flips on 4. This has plot of 3, so I figured this would be good to really gum the board up if we need to. And at the very worst, this card enables us to go pretty wide. So if you think about it, if we deploy our Sebulba, we've got a 2/5. Then we've got our 2/2. Then we've got 2 Sentinels. So, I mean, that's at least 4. And that's assuming that we have nothing else on board. So we go from nothing to at least 4 units with the Palpatine. So it's pretty cool. I like it quite a bit in here. I wanted to go 3, but I needed to find room when I was trimming some cards, so I cut one of these. I do like this Dengar in here. This is kind of a cool way to do ramping, and this is one of the cards. I forgot there's 2 cards that have the triple aspect in here. But this Dengar, 3 cost 4/3, and has 1 unit with the highest cost among enemy units is defeated. You get to create a credit token. Use this ability only once each round. This card has been really good so far, just kind of sneakily good. It doesn't necessarily say that the Dengar has to defeat it, so it's okay if another unit defeats their highest cost unit. It definitely works out pretty well, and this deck can do it for sure. So nothing really to sneeze at. The stats aren't particularly fantastic, but it's good. We've got a 3 cost Grand Inquisitor here, 3/4 hidden, raid 1. It's kind of cool with Sebulba because we can bump them up to raid 2. And it says other friendly Inquisitors gain hidden. That's pretty much going to just be flavor text in this deck. We've got another 3 cost 4/4 here that we kind of alluded to before, our 000, and now we've got a Knight of Ren. This one doesn't have any abilities, just a 3 cost 4/4. I really like the Sebulba's Pod Racer for sure in this deck. I think it's pretty cool. I'm hoping that we're going to see a Sebulba unit as well. I saw recently that there was an Anakin and this Pod Racer. One was a legendary, one was a rare. So I'm hoping that we get a Sebulba unit to go with our leader as well too. That'd be super cool. But this is a 3 cost 3/3. Stats are but it says when you discard a card from your deck, you may ready this unit. Use this ability only once each turn. With Sebulba's ability, we can pretty much guarantee we're going to get another attack in with this. We want to just primarily keep this alive. So we kind of really need to be careful with this. Something like the Craving Power that we're going to come across later is really nicely suited on this. If we can get something with Dengar and get credit, then we can potentially go with the Craving Power the turn after we play this. We've also got, I wanted to have some consideration for removal, so I'm deciding to go with Let's Call It War. This deck can go a little wide at times, so whether we're going to have the initiative is kind of up in the air, but it's a 3-cost event, deal 3 damage to a unit. Then if you have the initiative token, you may deal 2 damage to another unit in the same arena. It kind of depends on how the game's going. This is probably going to hit about, well, maybe a little bit more than 58% of the time, but it's definitely a good card. We've also got Sudden Ferocity. I think that Sebulba does pretty well to have this when it's deployed. The +3/+0 is pretty great. And this has plot, so it's pretty great. When you deploy a leader, you may play this card from your resources paying its cost, replace it with the top card of your deck. Just as a mild reminder, I'm sure everybody is aware, but this doesn't have to go on your leader. If you have a different unit out, you can put this on that leader. So just kind of a reminder. We are running the new ramp card, so we can look at it if you haven't seen it yet. 4 cost and just cutting command. Expendable Mercenary 3/3. When defeated, you may resource this unit from its owner's discard pile. So they've kind of changed this resources now a verb, which is fine, I get it. So really, ideally, what's going to happen is if we follow the course of resources, not counting like credits or whatever, this will be played on turn 3 where we have 4 resources. It's defeated. Let's say it's defeated immediately. It then goes into your resource row, but it's not ready. So the reason why I have this in here is for some of the higher end considerations that you can kind of see on the bottom, but we'll go over those in a second. Again, with wanting to have some interaction in the deck, decided to go with 3 copies of Charged with Treason. The double red for aggression hasn't been terrible so far, but I did have a problem with it one time. I'm kind of still up in the air whether I want to use this card or not. But anyway, you can disclose aggression. If you do, you get to deal 5 damage to a unit. 5 damage for 4 is not too bad. It's okay. Craving Power, on the other hand, is fantastic. 5 cost, 2/2 for an upgrade attached to our friendly unit. And when played, we get to deal damage to an enemy unit equal to the attached unit's power. So even though we've got a bunch of smaller units, even if we put it on like a Knight of Ren, that's still 6 damage, and now it's a 6/6. We do have some other bigger units that we're coming up to in just a moment that we can kind of consider as well, which is not too far off. We do have some credit production as well too, so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. Ditramiro, so far I've noticed that we haven't had a lot of good ambush cards left over, well, at least in these colors. So I wanted to have some ambush. Dedra's pretty good. 6 cost, 5/5. Not crazy with the stats, but I like that. She's got ambush, and on attack you get to create a spy, so we get to promote our going wide strategy here potentially. For our bigger units, we've got one more ambush unit, 8th Brother. It's a 6 cost, 5/7 with ambush, and when you play another unit, you may use the force. That's not going to come up at all. If you do, give a unit +2/+2. We don't have the force. We don't have a way of getting the force, so that is flavor text. Maul is pretty interesting, and I really don't know how much removal is going to be around, but boys, if there's not a lot, this card is just going to run rampant, potentially. I'm sure people will just run everything that they have into this to get it off the board. So if we can time this well, we could potentially cause some havoc here, especially if we've got the next card out when we play him. But Maul is 7 cost. This is a triple aspect. It's got the command, aggression, villainy, has overwhelm, and it says when attack ends, if this unit dealt combat damage to a player's base, it's got overwhelm, so most likely will. You may take control of a non-leader unit that player controls. When this unit leaves play, that the owner takes control of that unit. So we could steal 4 or 5, and then when Maul dies, then the opponent gets them all back. So we really want to keep him alive. And something like this Krennic here goes a long way of doing that. 9 cost, 810 with Sentinel. Okay, it's pretty big and beefy. When this unit is attacked, discard a card from your deck. If it's a unit, you may return it to your hand. This deck is almost completely units, so it's pretty perfect. We don't really have a ton of great Sentinels in these colors anyway, but this guy is pretty beefy, and really what it's going to turn into is an extra card draw, and it should keep our model alive at the very least. So it's pretty cool. Sebulba gets the raid, so we get a little extra damage in. We don't mind discarding from our deck. Really, the reason why I picked Data Vault isn't just because it's the slam dunk, but I wanted to have that little extra room with Data Vault, where we're kind of negating the downside on it. For the most, I mean, not really, but if we're getting rid of 1 card every turn, that's at least 4 cards that we're going to have before he deploys. So it's negating about 40% of the drawback on that. Plus, when he attacks, he's getting rid of a card as well, too. So we still haven't seen all the cards. There may be more as far as this discard thing, but we'll see, I guess. Either way, thanks for stopping by, everybody. Really appreciate it. The kindness, the nice words, everything. It's been awesome. May the force be with you, my friends. And I hope you're well. Take care.